Well, what's going on?
I'm feeling a little better today than I was yesterday. I had to unfortunately cancel one yesterday because I've been going through trying to get diagnosed. I have testing tomorrow, but it might be some type of TLE, which is temporal lobe epilepsy. Been having some
Oh,
seizure-like
geez.
activity, and it's been kind of feeling weird lately.
Yeah, that's not good, man. I hope you get that all figured out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's kind of what led me to
Yeah.
this, is because I'm not working right now. I'm on short-term disability.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, I need something to do, and
Oh, sure.
this is a fun thing to
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
just keep myself busy.
Well, yeah. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been good over here. I've been also just keeping myself pretty busy. I've been pretty busy in the studio here. I've been working live sound at a couple of places. KJ's Hideaway and the White Squirrel, and those are both in here in St. Paul. And the bands, I've been busy with the Confucisauras. Has been doing all sorts of stuff. We've been recording. We just played like a kind of a benefit show like a month ago, and we've got a single we're getting ready to release in December. That'll be pretty exciting. I'm right in the middle of locking in a show. I'm hoping I've got a December 8th that might work out at Arcadia in Minneapolis to be a single release show for Confucisaurus. So
Fun.
hoping to lock that in today.
Hey, good luck on that.
This is
Acadia's a
coming
great
up hot.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
What's it
Yeah,
like?
I
Have you
haven't
been
been
there
there
since
since
their accident?
no, I haven't. I played there like a week before it happened, and then I haven't been there since. So I'm kind of
Yeah, so it
excited to
sounds
go
like they're
back
open
there.
again.
Yeah, yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
How
So I'm hoping we can
how
get
was your
in.
birthday bash?
It's good. It's good. I mean, fucking, I honestly didn't do that much. I just hung out at home.
Hey, that's needed once in a while.
Yeah, I know. I had so much going on all the time. I was like, finally, I had a day that I was like, hey, I can do nothing on this day, and I'm gonna take advantage of that. So, my birthday was chill as fuck, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this today. Like I said, I'm not at my normal location, so we'll just kind of go with the flow, see how it works out.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Mental Health Mondays are just kind of a fun, leisurely conversation. Basically, I'm going to send you a link for the category, spin that, it'll
All right,
select a category, and then I'll spin which wheel corresponding with that, and we'll get the questions going.
all
Kind of
right.
a fun way to break up the monotony, and you never know what's going to be going on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to send in the chat. There we go. Should be a wheel spinny and category selectors. So.
Oh yeah. Tap to spin the wheel. We're spinning. State of mental health in the industry.
Cool. So I'll come over here, share my screen. Da-da-da. And you said the state of mental health in the industry.
Yeah.
That will be right here. Go ahead and do this. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, I actually usually like to start out with a couple questions. If you don't mind, we can just do
Yeah.
that real quick.
I'm open. I'm here.
Cool. Just getting people familiar with what's going on. And let's see here. Is it going to show up for me? Okay. So Bryce Tuitt, you were telling us, you got a couple bands going on doing live sound. Definitely
Yep.
appreciate you
Yep.
coming on and sharing your story. Would you mind
Yeah.
telling us about your journey that led you into the music industry?
Well, I guess it's been a long journey that I guess kind of started over 15 years ago. I started playing music when I was 14 or so, and pretty quickly started playing in bands. And um, in high school, I was playing in like metal and punk bands for the most part, and eventually I ended up going to McNally Smith College of Music and doing a production program over there. Graduated in 2013, so that was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago, almost to the day. I was December 2013 that I graduated. So
Nice.
almost a couple months off of 10 years from that.
Time
And
moves.
I know, I can't believe it's been 10 years since I graduated. And yeah, I guess ever since then I've been. I guess there was kind of like a period where I wasn't playing in any bands. I went out to Colorado for a little while, and then we came back here in 2016 actually, and started forming bands with people. And 2017 was about when Confucisauras came about, and after a few member changes and even name changes, it wasn't Confucisaurus originally.
Was that part of
It's
the
turned into what
wheelchair
it is.
Jimmy?
Yeah, it kind of started off as Wheelchair Jimmy. Literally nobody that was in Wheelchair Jimmy is currently in Confuciusaurus other than myself. But
Okay.
that was, yeah. Oh my God, we've gone through a whole lot of different people since then. The Confuciusaurus nowadays is it's me, obviously, Pat Frainer, Jeremy Rose, and Steve Tagney. Steve being the newest addition to the band, just joined us maybe 6 months ago. And we just released our first single with him. I guess that was already almost 6 months ago too. That was pretty much right away after he joined the band. We got something together and put one out, and we've been working on a whole bunch of recordings lately. So we've been kind of waiting to get a bunch of stuff ready before we started pumping more out and playing more shows. So, but that started, and I was also at the time I was in Sammy Strings in the Can of Bliss right around that time. I played drums with that group, and that eventually it turned into it was called Propaganda Machine towards the end.
Okay.
And once the pandemic hit, that band ended up falling apart. It didn't survive the pandemic, but that's all right.
Yeah.
It was a fun project while it lasted, but it was I don't know. It wasn't probably wasn't the right thing for me anyways. It was not necessarily all my favorite kind of music to play. So
Yeah, right on.
Confuciusaurus is a lot more down my wheelhouse, I guess. I've been a lot more into like funk and prog rock in the last I guess kind of my entire life. I've been more into prog rock and even like jazz fusion and stuff. And so Confuciusaurus kind of mixes a lot of that kind of stuff together. And there's little elements that you could almost say are kind of punk and kind of metal just because I have that background. I'm sure that kind of comes out in a lot of my music these days still, but it's definitely not the forefront of what Confuciusaurus does. And then recently, I also was in a band after Propaganda Machine broke up. I had joined another band called The Common Practice, and Common Practice unfortunately just broke up about a month ago, and we just had a CD release show at about a month ago. So we did just drop an album or a CD that the Common Practice did called Theater Kids about a month ago. That's cool. I mean, it's worth to go check it out, but unfortunately, the band did not make it past that. So
Yeah, I
this
mean, at
is
least you were able
the end
to
of the Common Practice.
at least you were able to capture, those
Yeah, at
moments
least we
with
get something. Yeah. Yeah, we had a really great sound. We had rich, like 4-part vocal harmonies, and it was a 7-piece band. We had like violin and cello and 2 guitar players, and I was playing drums and bass, obviously too. And we sounded really good. And yeah, we were fronted by a married couple who's now going through a divorce, so that kind of was the problem there.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I can see how
And
that would take its toll.
so yeah, they were kind of the 2 main songwriters, and yeah, I don't know, things kind of went south pretty quick there at the end, unfortunately. But it was fun while it lasted, and I mean, everybody got along great overall. I thought it was a great crew that was going to turn into something, and then I don't know, all this sort of just came up really suddenly. It felt like.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'm kind of bummed about that, but And it's all fresh in my brain still, so I'm still pretty freshly bummed about that.
Yeah, I mean, a month ago is not that long. So
No, it's not. And like we just put all this effort into recording this 6-track EP, and it kind of just feels like we did all that work for nothing. But at least we have that EP to kind of commemorate the time that we had with that group. So, and
yeah, that's
it
always
was
nice to be able to
good
capture
music.
those moments and hear that back
Yeah,
later
we
in
had
the years.
we had some really cool music, and so I'm glad we were able to at least capture some of it permanently.
Sweet. Well, then that kind of segues in. What was the defining moment that you had realized that you wanted to be a part of the music world,
Oh gosh, I
in a
mean,
professional capacity?
yeah, I guess this was probably a realization I had back in high school. Because I mean, right out of high school, I went to McNally Smith, so I pretty quickly, from a young age, I knew this was something I wanted to do forever. I didn't really imagine 15 years ago that I'd be getting into like studio production and live sound as much as I have. I have a whole recording studio right here that we're sitting in. It's pretty cool.
Super awesome. I've
And
been there a
I
couple
went to
times. I love
McDonald's.
it.
Yeah. And so after McNally, I started doing. I really didn't get into live sound right away. I was working with this crew called the Romer Dome. We would do like the Ohm Dome at Harmony Park music festivals, which was just a small stage kind of out in the tent areas. Oh, my cat's bumping my camera tripod. And we would we would run. Basically, we would organize the whole event, or for that stage at least, we would book all the bands and we would set up all the equipment for the stage, and that was kind of where my live sound experience got started, was doing stuff with that crew. I was like Ricardo Romero and Sammy Strings and Tyler Rennie and myself for the most part. We had other people. Thomas Edstrom was involved with that for a while, and like Tyler Happy Feet. We had a pretty cool crew that was in on that for a while, and that was another thing that kind of fell apart in the pandemic, unfortunately. I would love to still be putting stages together at music festivals like that, helping out some of the smaller artists get into these bigger festivals. That was kind of a huge part of what that group did, is we helped some small bands get into music festivals that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get into, and gave them a stage, and it was awesome, and gave myself a stage. I mean, I've played on those stages too when we were doing all that, and it
I
was
remember.
a cool experience with the Romer Dome.
I remember a lot of that.
Did we used
The
to do
Romer
these
Dome
live
All
streams?
Stars. What's that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We would like play some shows and stuff, like just kind of as a group where we never really had anything planned ahead, but we would just kind of go on stage and see what happened, and it usually worked out pretty good. I don't know. It was
Yeah, like you
fun. It
said,
was
nice tight knit crew, and everybody got along. You all had the common purpose of trying to do the best you can,
yeah,
hit up the festivals, and then do a good show.
right. Yeah, and so then that eventually that kind of sizzled out after the pandemic, and I was looking for more work, and I just like, well, I've done live sound. I never really was super interested in it, but I started doing it, and I was like, yeah, I actually kind of don't mind this. And it turns out it's almost one of the best parts about doing live sound as much as I do, is it helps me find clients for here in the studio.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that I like doing a lot more. It's recording bands and stuff. Lately I've been working with a few different bands. Funk and Spuds has a 6-track EP that we're working on. I've got Joe and the Mechanics has a single that we're working on. Glass Eyes has a single coming out on the 31st here that I mixed and mastered. Sounds fantastic.
Nice.
Looking forward to that. It's coming out on Halloween. They're like a new metal band. They kind of have they kind of sound like old Mudvayne in a way, but modern also. I don't know. They
Cool.
sound great.
Check it
They're a
out.
cool band. Yeah, Glass Eyes, and the single is called Bear Hug.
Cool.
That'll be out, yeah, on the 31st, I believe. It's coming out on Halloween, so
Yeah, that's
that'll be
less
cool.
than a week away.
Yeah, that one's coming out real quick here. So yeah, that's the next thing coming out of Psychotropic Sounds here. Psychotropic Sounds. That's the name of the studio here. Yeah, we
in
did a
St.
ton of
Paul.
live streams actually during the pandemic. Yeah, we're in St. Paul. Yeah, and I did most of the construction here. I when I got this house, it was just an unfinished basement, and we were doing throughout 2020. I was doing a bunch of construction down here while simultaneously bringing in bands to do live streams so that we could try to keep music going throughout the pandemic. And like, it was a lot of work putting those live streams together, but it was I don't know, kept music alive for a year when it was not existing in other places. So
Yeah, I
we,
remember
I
catching
was
a couple of those.
able to, yeah, I was able to catch live music throughout most of the pandemic, which most people didn't have that opportunity, which was pretty
Yeah, not
cool.
only were you
So
able to observe it, but you were able to help foster and create, a small community
yeah,
from it.
yeah, exactly. So I haven't done a whole lot of live streams since. There hasn't really been any need for it, but this place is set up really well to do it. I've got all sorts of video connections going through the walls and stuff here, and it's set up for video and audio in here. I've even got a green screen set up right over there. You can
Hell
probably
yeah.
see it in the reflection on the window behind me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, this area right here. That's green. That's just the reflection. Yeah,
No, that's really cool. Hopefully
Confucisauras is doing
for
a bunch of weird video stuff. Yeah, it helped us get through all that. And then the green screen, I use the green screen stuff just to do Confucisaurus videos now. And we've got a bunch of weird videos that we're trying to get ready to go with our live shows. And a lot of it has been filming us in front of green screens doing kind of this silly fake commercials for fake products, kind of like some Tim and Eric style kind of stuff. But
nice.
it's our own way of doing it too. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's been yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's very informative.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to know what you're doing and who you are and what you're, doing in the music industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of been a huge, it's been at least, it's probably more than I'm not thinking. And that's a huge part of the journey, I guess, in the music scene for me has been, yeah, doing a lot of these live streams was a big part of it. And getting the studio together has been a big thing.
It's a lot of work. It sounds like,
Yeah.
it's taken years, but sounds like you're in a very good spot where you want to
Yeah.
be and everything's kind of coming together.
Right. Exactly. So it's been cool. I'm pretty excited about all this stuff, and there's only more to come the way I see it.
All right, so we're back to the question here. We got the
Yeah.
category, the state of mental health in the music
Yeah.
industry. After spinning that category, now we have the question. In what ways do you think that the stigma around discussing mental health in the music industry can be broken?
I mean, it's just more people that have a stage to talk about it. I mean, I've seen some people performing. I'm a live sound engineer, so I see bands multiple times a week, every week, and I mean, I've seen plenty of bands will say some stuff on stage about stuff that they're going through, and just kind of, I think just having that conversation on stage almost really helps to normalize like a lot of the issues that a lot of people are going through. Like a lot of people are struggling from mental health issues, and I mean, musicians are certainly no exception to that. So, like, I I think they have a lot to offer when it comes to talking about those subjects, and they have a stage a lot of the times. And so, I think just utilizing that stage to kind of spread awareness of like, hey, you're not the only one going through these struggles. I'm going through it too, and then people can, they'll feel better about themselves because they hear their people that they're seeing on stage talking about issues that they have or something.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that's a thing that
That's very
people
good
can do.
because
Yeah.
they are up there. They are kind of at the forefront of the entertainment for the night. And if they have, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk about maybe something they're going through or something that their loved
Yeah.
one's going through, that could help somebody in the audience, ease their suffering a little bit. I like that. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There was somebody actually just this past weekend who was talking about, well, their husband passed away a few years back, and this other person that was performing was like I guess pretty big in the blues scene and like out of Chicago, and like this person that was playing at KJ's last week, whose husband passed away, she was saying she went up to this other performer and was like, "Hey, can I come up and help you sing on this one verse? Because it kind of just it reminds me of my husband in a good way." And like, and then she obviously accepted, and so then she went up at this big music festival and helped this big blues artist sing this song. And I'm spacing on her name. I'm not super well into the blues community, but she was talking about a lot of the struggles that she had gone through with dealing with this. I think just having somebody talking about that really, she certainly isn't the only person going through that struggle. So it's like being able to talk about that on stage is probably it's probably very difficult to do, but it also just helps other people to hear that kind of stuff. So
it's almost
really
kind
cool
of
to hear
reaching out in a way, taking your inner strength, reaching out to your audience and your fans and those that engage with you and say, hey, it's okay to go through these things because I'm up here and I'm able to deal with them just like you are. So
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Where was that at?
KJ's Hideaway. It's in downtown St. Paul. It's kind of like a jazz blues club for the most part. It used to be called the Artist Quarter for a long time, and it opened up probably 30 years ago as the Artist Quarter, but it was just taken over a couple of years ago by some new owners, and it's called KJ's Hideaway these days. But yeah, it's a cool little like basement venue right in downtown St. Paul. It's kind of hidden away, but it's kind of pretty famous in the jazz scene around here.
I've been meaning to get out more, and this summer I was looking forward to it, and then now I haven't been able to drive the last couple of months just because I've been having this seizure-like activity. Never know when it's going to strike. It's happened when I was driving. It's happened when I'm sleeping. It's happened when I'm eating. Just throughout my day. So the doctor said, no driving until I can get testing done, and then after testing, hopefully we can start medication, find out what's going on, and start treating those symptoms. But I want to get out to more open mics. I miss going to open mics. I miss going to shows. I haven't seen my friends perform all summer.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of tough because that's an escape. Not necessarily an escape, but it's a connection, and it's a way just to be involved, and a bit of an escape too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. If you want to go ahead and select another category.
Sure.
Spin.
We're spinning.
Spinny.
Future outlook.
Cool. We got that one right here. Let's go ahead and share. Yeah, and so far this has been fun because we never know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And some of the questions are pretty engaging. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if it's showing up for you yet.
Yeah, I'm seeing it over there.
All right. Do you have any upcoming projects that focus on or incorporate themes of mental health?
Not necessarily. The common practice actually was probably the best at doing stuff like that. Though unfortunately, we just broke up about a month ago. But I think just kind of lyrically, some of our songs were kind of had more of those kind of themes in it. But
I suppose if they're going through,
I don't know. I really don't.
It's probably, they're going to be more connected to those emotions lyrically. And so I can see how that would be coming out because you're writing about that, trying to work through it and such.
Yeah. A lot of like the lyrics in the common practice certainly were more personal experiences, whereas like the lyrics in Confucisauras are usually kind of satirical and silly a lot of the times. So
cool. At least you're at, that's fun and you're doing the thing that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead and give her another spin.
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how much time you plan for today. So I was initially planning for about 30 minutes. However, they seem to, be a lot of fun. People are enjoying the platform, being able to open up and share their stories.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about 45 minutes to an hour. So if you got enough
Yeah,
time,
that works for me.
we can keep going.
So here's it is. External factors affecting mental health.
External factors affecting mental health.
Yeah.
How does the lifestyle of constant touring affect your mental health? So I don't know.
Well,
This one's
I've
relevant.
never done that, so I don't know.
Cool. We'll just spin it again.
Yeah.
Nope, same one. First time this has happened. All right. Can you discuss the impact of social media has had on your mental health?
Oh gosh. All right. Yeah. So social media is just kind of a pit, if you will. It's kind of how I see it in a way. It's just there's so many people going on there with so many opinions. No, thankfully these days I think people have kept a lot more of their opinions off of social media, which I think has been a good thing. Or at least they just don't show up on my feeds anymore. But a lot of I don't know, a lot of times people get really into whenever people get too passionate about political things on Facebook and stuff, I feel like it just ends up causing so much more stress than is necessary, and like trying to find a balance between wanting to like have important conversations with people and like maintaining my mental sanity is it's kind of a balance that just isn't possible. I've come to realize there's no having those kinds of conversations on like Facebook and stuff while keeping mental sanity. And so I found on social media like it's best to just kind of stick to more lighthearted and positive things. And most of the stuff I post about or talk about now is music related on social media, just to make it a more pleasant mental experience, because social media got really toxic there for a while, and it was really just unpleasant to be on for a while, especially during the pandemic years. That was just brutal. Every time you go on, like, oh God, what am I going to hear today or read today that's just disturbing or something? And like, yeah, I guess what I learned in that period was, you got to really curate your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed to be something that's positive. Otherwise, you're gonna get bombarded with stuff that's gonna stress you out, because people are constantly pushing out stuff that's just stressful. And so I think curating your feed to be positive is hugely important on some of these social media platforms, because otherwise you're gonna get bombarded with stuff that you don't want to see, and it's gonna take a toll on your mental health. It will cause anxiety. It will make you feel like shit.
Yeah, I would totally
So
agree with
yeah, I
those
don't
things
know.
because, during the pandemic, a lot of people got separated or torn apart from their groups or tribes or families
Yeah,
because of separating opinions. And then, like you said, for a while, it was very much opinion based, and this is the way it needs to be, and you're wrong if you think otherwise. And it
yeah,
does seem to be calming down, less opinionated, more promoting of stuff. But I really like what you said about
yeah,
curating your own feed, especially if you're an artist or musician or in this industry.
yeah,
You can be exposed to a lot of things that are not necessarily counter opinion, but just not healthy opinion. And so curating your feeds
yeah,
that way,
yeah,
you're getting the
exactly.
right motivational stuff, maybe something that's inspirational. If you're into
Yeah,
sports, maybe some sports
yeah,
things, stuff like that.
right. Yeah. Like, yeah, I've been more. I try to just like go into like meme groups a lot of the times, just for like, but like music related ones or something, because it's just like it's just a little bit more lighthearted that way, and I'm a music fan, obviously, so I definitely lean towards stuff like that. And I love me some good memes, and if I can,
Yeah.
I'd rather laugh on the internet than try to write out 10 paragraphs of an angry debate. I don't know.
I get it.
Not
For a
worth the
while, it
mental
was
health.
you can almost see social media as like a trap or a pit, like you were saying, where it's just a constant cycle of
Yeah,
I'm not there yet, I'm not there
yeah,
yet, I'm chasing, I'm chasing, I'm chasing. What do I need to do next? And then you're like, fuck, what am I doing? Like, why? Doesn't
yeah,
matter. Nobody cares.
yeah. And even, I guess even another perspective on that is like burnout is a thing that's kind of easy to get. I go through like with Confucisauras, I run all the social media, and it can be pretty easy to get burnt out from doing social media posting all the time. Like, I kind of go through phases with it where I'll be like very consistent with posts for a few months, and then a few months will go by where I just am like, I can't do this right now. I just like so sick of making these little videos or these little posts that a lot of the times I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's very effective, but I think just having that like base on social media, like on my TikTok page or something, having all this stuff that people can shuffle through, that's decent content. It just doesn't, right out front, it doesn't seem like it reaches very many people, and so it gets kind of discouraging. And but over time, those view counts, they start to rack up and whatnot, and uh, that I think just finding a good balance on and stuff like that is definitely important for being in a band or something where you got to have consistent social media presence. It's easy to get burnt out. Like, you got to split it up with your band or your team or whoever, so that not just one person's not doing it all, because it can get pretty overwhelming if you're running all of that by yourself, trying to make videos and do all these social media posts. So finding a balance just with that is like in a band situation is can be a challenge in and of itself. So finding finding people to help do that can help alleviates just some of the stress that comes along with that. So I think that's kind of a big thing, is if you're in a band and like getting overwhelmed by social media, just encourage people in your bands to do some of it too. And I think you'd get more people will find that, yeah, I don't know, your band members are willing to help out, hopefully. If
A lot of times,
they're not, maybe they're not the best people to have in your band.
a lot of times I have found that
But
it's usually one, maybe two people doing most of the posting in a band for the social media.
yeah,
And I like what you
yeah.
had
And
brought up,
like, I don't
burnout.
see a whole lot of bands that have constant consistency on social media. It's usually, I see a lot of bands that are like, they'll be consistent for a few months and then they'll be off for a few months. And I'm like, that's how I do it too. It's hard to, when you're the only one when you're the main one doing it, it gets to be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, you had brought up burnout, and
And
I've
so,
been
yeah.
writing these articles every Monday. So this one was talking about managing stress and burnout, and so I just brought this up just
Oh,
because you
yeah.
mentioned that. And so if you ever go
Oh,
to
sure.
Substack,
Yeah.
I got all that information. I like to write these articles
Cool.
and put them
I'll
out.
definitely check that out.
Yeah, I got 3 or 4 on this subject now. So these are mental health, and then if you're
Oh,
interested in
cool.
like sync licensing and everything, I have a bunch more about sync licensing and getting your music ready for that.
Oh, yeah. I've seen you post about that stuff before. I've definitely been thinking about doing some of that. I've got all of the necessary tools here to do that. So,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've been building this catalog, the Play It Again music catalog, helping everybody on there become one stop, get their music ready. So it's all the metadata, their codes, their genres, all that such, all that
oh,
information.
yeah.
And a lot of people aren't as familiar with that. So yeah, it's not
Yeah,
fun. It's just being
totally.
slow.
Yeah. Yeah. There's probably a lot that goes into it that I don't even realize.
All right, let's want to do one or two more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Personal experiences and coping mechanisms.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
All right. If you don't mind, could you talk about a time that you faced burnout and how you recovered?
Yeah. All right. So I guess I kind of almost got into it a little bit there with the social media stuff because that's one of the main places that I've felt burnout over the years is doing social media stuff. I just that's not really the fun side of being a musician or even running a recording studio. Like I've got social media pages for the studio. I've got some social media pages for the band um, and so like, I'm definitely doing a lot of that, and I definitely, yeah, as we just talked about, I definitely have experienced burnout in social media. But also, like, there's been times in the past where I've just like, oh man, I guess around college, man, right after I finished college, I was like, I was in a weird state of mind after that. I didn't, I ended up moving out to Colorado because I was just like, in a weird mental state, and I think a lot of it was just burnout. I was burnt out from college. I had just gotten out of a bad relationship, and I was having I had a lot of kind of bad relationships with people here in the cities at that time, and so I ended up moving out to Colorado and like stayed out there for about a year, and it was kind of just a year long, almost like vacation escape, even though I was like working the whole time, but it was like a mental vacation in a way. And having that's what having that opportunity to get out of the state and go to Colorado was like did wonders for my mental health.
So
Because
beautiful
after
out
that
there.
year, I was like, wow, I like yeah. After that year, I was pretty ready to get back to Minnesota and like make music again with people I knew. And it was like I knew there was people like Sam Barber was a good friend of mine back then, and we were pretty eager to make music together. And so and at that time, I went back and joined Sammy Strings in the Can of Bliss, and being able to get have that time. I think after college, I was kind of just reset my brain was a huge thing for me, and it really helped me kind of bounce back after college. College was intense. It was like two. I mean, I did only a 2 year program, but it was very rigorous at the time when I was there. It was a lot of it was a lot of work. So I was just constantly doing studying this and that, trying to get better at my craft here in the studio stuff. So and by the time I finished out college, I was just like exhausted, and I just wanted to take like a 4 year nap. And so I was very blessed and lucky and fortunate to have the opportunity to move out to Colorado for a year. Something like that is probably something a lot of people wouldn't have the financial opportunity to make that happen. And so I'm very blessed that I was able to do that. And even by the end of that, I was like, towards the end of it, I was like ready to make music again and get back into a music career, which at that point I was like a couple of years out of college and was feeling like, I was feeling like a failure because I hadn't done anything with my music career yet. And I had a degree in music production stuff. And so I was, uh, after a couple of years after I graduated college, took once I took that trip out to Colorado for a year, I was feeling able to kind of get back at it. And I was just like, yeah, I was not in a good mental place after college, and it took a couple of years to kind of bounce back. And but yeah, once I moved back, joined Sammy Strings in the Can of Bliss, and Wheelchair Jimmy got started, which eventually turned into Confucisauras, and things have just been going up and up ever since, really.
Sounds like you know how to really listen to your inner self and kind of know what you're needing. Pretty insightful on
Yeah,
that way too. And
yeah,
by taking that year off, you were able to reassess and reprioritize kind of what you really did want. It sounds like. Were you making music in Colorado? Were
Yeah.
you jamming with anyone?
No, not really. I didn't really jam with anybody that much out there. Nothing. I occasionally went out and uh, I would do some busking once in a while. I would like go out to Boulder and like kind of get on one of the main strips and just like play music on the strip there, just with an acoustic guitar or something. And I did that a few times. And I played a lot by myself in my apartment. I think I made some of the biggest strides that I've ever made as a guitar player. I made sitting in that apartment in Colorado. And
So it sounds like that
so
was a
after
very
that,
you
I was
time.
like, "Holy cow!"
Sounds like
It was a me time. It was very much. I just focused on getting myself up to where I wanted to be. You know,
yeah, and there's
I
nothing wrong
was
with that
getting
at all.
back into music, like writing music, because like I went to college in the first place because I wanted to be able to like record my own music, and then after college, I wasn't in any bands, and I just wasn't very confident in my musical abilities at the time because throughout college, I just wasn't, even though I was going to a music college, I wasn't playing that much. Um, and so it just kind of, when I was living in Colorado, I was able to just get back up to speed more on my instruments. And I
Makes
was,
sense.
I was playing all sorts of music. Music, man, playing music is a great way to cure a lot of things.
Yeah, I haven't
And
jammed
yeah, I
or
just haven't stopped. I've just been,
it's been since like 2019 since I performed, and definitely miss the performance piece and the camaraderie
yeah,
and the connection. I could probably go without being in the
yeah.
bars all the time, but I do
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
all the other stuff,
yeah,
and I miss it.
yeah. Saying I'm not, I drink, but I don't drink much. If I'll get my 2 drink tickets at a bar at a show or whatever, and like when I play, I'm like, I usually never go over that. It's like more than I would ever want in most situations. Every once in a while, I'll drink a little more than like 2 beers or something, but it's pretty rare. I'm more of a stoner. I smoke weed.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and bars are like able to do that here a little bit. It seems like at least some bars are letting people smoke weed on the patio. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think with
So
the
that's kind of cool.
that the laws have
With the
changed a
new
little bit.
laws here, I think it's the whole culture around it is going to be shifting here pretty
Yeah,
consistently. I'd say for the next couple of years.
that's
So
okay.
yeah,
I'm okay with less
yeah,
less alcoholic, less alcohol. A little alcohol is
less
good,
alcohol and
but too
yeah,
much
exactly.
too much is a problem.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
let's shoot for one more, and then I think we'll wrap it up then.
Yeah, sounds good. We got future again.
If you want to do that, we can, or we can do a different one.
Let's try a different one. There's all these options here. You might as well do something different. Creative process and mental health.
Nice. Yeah, I can hear there's a little bit of a lag from when we're talking, so I'll have to spend some extra time getting the audio lined up, but that's okay. Okay, how do you
Oh
handle
yeah, that's
creative
not too
blocks
bad.
or slumps? Is that a good one?
Yeah, yeah. I guess. Yeah, I've certainly had my fair share of creative blocks before. Weirdly, I think one of the best things to do when you run into a creative block is almost to just set down the instrument or whatever and walk away and come back another time. I almost find that's one of the best things to do because I I find when I'm in those blocks, I'll catch myself just kind of going, and it's almost like a loop that I catch myself in, and like I'll like let's say I have like a song or something that I'm working on, and I've got like most of it figured out, but I've got like one area where there's something I need to figure out still, and like sometimes I'll end up when I'm in a block, what I usually find happens is I'm just like I keep trying the same things over and over again in a way, almost like an insanity thing, like trying the same things but expecting a different result. And so I end up finding just stepping away almost and coming back like the next day or something usually is the best way to go about it. And or even just like I'll just go to a different something different entirely. Like if I'm not trying to set down my instrument per se for the day, I still want to get more practice time in. I'll just kind of go into something different entirely instead of trying to figure out what I'm trying to be creative with in that moment. I'll usually maybe I'll learn a song or something or just play along with something I already know just to kind of put my brain into a different uh, groove, I guess. Hear something different, just to kind of reset what my brain is hearing. A little mental reset with some different music can kind of help a little bit. It can go a long way. Just play something different. And
Now, is
then
that just
eventually
with
I will
creating,
work my way back into what I was.
or do you find
Yeah,
that
mostly just with creating
not
music
with
and stuff.
recording?
Yeah, I find almost just listening back. They're playing along with other music or listening back to something different and just kind of, or even just taking a break, like stepping away for a couple of minutes. I kind of pretty effective ways for me at least to kind of break through a creative block. And yeah,
What
I
about
think
like
overall I'm pretty good at working through creative blocks. Whenever I know I've got something in mind, I'm usually pretty good at pulling it out.
nice.
Lyrics are usually a spot something I come back and revisit a lot of times. It usually takes me a few rounds of lyric editing before I'm like, that's it, there it is.
Mhm. I was gonna say
uh,
sometimes I have noticed that there's like lyrical exercises, writing exercises, or maybe if you're stuck with like a guitar part, just maybe run a couple scales, and that could give you inspiration too.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of the biggest thing is just kind of like a mental reset or a change of scenery in a way. Like not necessarily scenery, but just like what you're hearing, just listening to something different almost, or just going and standing in a different room or walk outside for a minute and just kind of almost like even just like meditation or something, like going for a walk and just kind of thinking about nothing or something.
Now, your creative blocks aren't going to be the same during a live as you're doing a live sound, right? Because you're going to be facing more of a technical issue
Yeah,
and less creative issues.
yeah. With that, it's mostly more technical. The way when it comes to live mixing, I feel like it's less of a creative process and more of a um, yeah, it's more of a technical process. Whereas like studio mixing can be more of a creative process. Um, so like in the studio when if I'm mixing a song and I'm like struggling to hear what I'm struggling to get something to sound the way I want it to sound, I can with mixing, walking away is the biggest thing. Literally, that is the number one thing you got to do if you're struggling while mixing, because it is a creative process, but it's also a technical process at the same time. And so sometimes uh, stepping away and coming back is the biggest thing because like you won't even really realize that like if something two tracks or something like a guitar and a piano could be kind of blending together in a way just creating mud rather than like having the two sounds like sound distinct. And a lot of times you could almost just entirely overlook that when you're sitting there mixing for 30 minutes straight. All of a sudden the ear fatigue will kick in and you won't even realize how muddy something sounds until you walk away for 5 minutes and then come back, or even just listening to something else and coming back, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that sounds like super muddy or something, or oh, this sounded way different than I was hearing it 10 minutes ago. Because with mixing, you're hearing the same audio on repeat for a very long time.
Mhm.
And it is incredibly fast for the ear fatigue to kick in, and for that it's almost not even as much of a creative block, but in a way it is because it's only just like your own mental like blocks that are kind of getting in the way. It's not that like the song actually is less muddy or sounds better or worse than it actually does. It's just that your ears are getting fatigued and you're listening to the same thing over and over again is it does a weird thing to your ears. So
Yeah.
mixing is breaking out of those blocks with mixing. I've pretty much found like one solution, which is to walk away and come back later. And then when I do that, it's like, oh, boop, 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 and I'll make massive steps in just like a couple of minutes as soon as I come back after walking away.
So do you do
And
like 90 minutes
so
on,
with
20 minutes off? Something like that?
yeah, kind of. A lot of time, if I have multiple songs to work on, I'll do like I'll do something like that, like an hour to 2 hours at most on a song, and then I can go to a different song, or I can just if I'm just that's the only one I'm working on, I'll oftentimes just come back to it the next day or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like just sleeping on it a lot of times is one of the biggest things you can do to help a mix.
I guess what I'm trying to get out for maybe viewers that might be interested or curious, how long do you think it takes until that ear fatigue sets in? I know it's
Um,
everyone's going to be
well,
probably
it kind of
different,
depends on
but
how far you're into the song. At first, I find it doesn't take very long. The very first session, I can usually do like an hour and a half to 2 hours, no problem on a mix. It usually takes probably 6 hours or so, 6 to 8 hours to get a full mix ready. Um, Depending on the song. If it's like a full band, it takes like 6 to 8 hours. If it's only like an acoustic guitar and a vocal, I can probably knock that out in 20 or 30 minutes. But when it's a full band, yeah, it takes some time. And so I end up doing multiple, it ends up being multiple mixes, and I'll send them back and forth to the bands and whatnot. And they'll give me their notes as well. And so every time I make a mix and like go and listen to it in my car, I'll send it out to whatever band or whatever too, and get notes from them because they're going to hear stuff that I don't hear too. Like, and so just getting notes from the members of the band is also a great way to get through any sort of a mental block on a mix because they might be like, oh, hey, I kind of want this guitar to sound brighter or something in this section, and almost doing something like that will like clear up space for something else in the mix in a way. Is changing EQ on one thing will clear up space for another thing, and um,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of lost my train of thought there for a sec.
No, it's all right. No, that's great. I definitely can agree with. I like what you were saying at the end there because, if maybe they want their guitars brighter and you've been trying to make it like thicker or fatter, you don't even have to worry about that anymore
Yeah,
because you have
yeah. So
them.
yeah, exactly. Getting their ideas and perspective will be like, oh, I was just kind of had the wrong idea in mind almost, and then hearing what they have to say about it it'll give you that spark. Oh, now I'm doing that, and it'll almost make other things kind of line right up too.
Totally.
And yeah, so yeah, getting that's one of the biggest things on when you're doing mixing in the studios, getting feedback from other people is huge. I've found is even like when Confucisauras does mixes. I mean, we basically mix them as a team. I do most of it, but I do the bulk of it. But the suggestions that I get from these guys, and a lot of times they'll be sitting in here while I'm doing the mixing, and like after they're getting their suggestions, it is always better. It's always better after getting their suggestions, and it's like as much as you can put a team effort into the creative side of mixing, the better it's going to sound. And
Oh
having
yeah.
multiple years on it is a big thing to help bring a mix to its true potential. Really,
Yeah, I love that. Really appreciate it.
yeah,
This I think will be a good place to kind of wrap it up. I got like 5% of my computer
yeah,
battery, so I got to run in the other room and plug this in.
yeah,
But Bryce, I definitely appreciate you taking the time today and chatting with me and
yeah. Of
going over
course.
this
Thanks for
together.
having me.
What's that?
Yeah. What day is this coming out on?
So I record these any day, but then I put them out every Monday. And there's
Okay.
I have 2 more before you. So Smoking Joe's coming out
Oh, okay.
next Monday.
I have a show on Saturday, but there's no point in plugging a show on Saturday if this is
Okay.
coming out 2 weeks
Okay.
afterwards. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
Let
Cool.
people know one last time where they can find
check
you.
out Confucisauras on social media. Psychotropic Sounds on social media. Look forward. I've got a new band that's called Color Chord that is kind of some of the members of the Common Practice starting something new. So we sometime next year we'll be getting out there. I don't know. Confucisauras, Psychotropic Sounds, Color Chord. That's kind of the future of me right now.
Cool. I'll make sure I drop links in the chat and comments below. But
Cool.
again, thanks for joining
much
us with
appreciated.
Mental Health Mondays.
Yeah.
And you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, Bryce?
Yeah, thanks. You as well. Have a great day.
You too. Oh, and then if you want to leave it running,
yeah.
keep the app or keep the web open, and then it'll
Yeah,